Gen X sisters, elder millennials, the youngest of the baby boomers. I have been speaking with so many of you over the past several months, either online, offline, in our Gen X coffee chats, in person at our brunch meetups, in my inner circle membership. And we're falling in three basic camps, so to speak. We have one camp who are thriving and fine with the status quo, fine with how things are, content with their lives, and moving towards, retirement goals, etc., and just feeling all around in a good place, which is wonderful. Wonderful. We have a second camp of women who are actively looking for change. Like they really, really, really want to change things up in their lives. I don't know if you can relate to this. Like there's a burning desire to either like have a different job, move to a different place, live differently, approach life differently, just have a completely different approach. And I see you and I hear you actively seeking and searching and trying things, etc. And then there's the third camp who you're still in the thick of it. You are burnt out, beyond exhausted. Exhausted doesn't describe it. You are taking care of everyone else before yourself. You have a plate filled with responsibilities and challenges and have very little time left for yourself. And even if you have an inkling that, yeah, I don't want to do it like this anymore. I want to do things differently. you- You're not at the space yet to do anything about that. You are surviving, and you're thriving in that survival. Like you're very resilient and strong, and I mean superhero women for sure. And and yet you're looking for a way to just heal and get to a better place. I am a member of the second camp in the seeking and searching and experimenting. So I wanted to share with you something that I've been doing for the last many weeks, because on this channel and elsewhere, I have been talking about the fact that we all need to take a break. In order to do anything, we need to pause and allow for some silence and stillness to get some clarity about what we want out of this life, to get some healing in our minds and our bodies. Like I've been preaching that, you know, like like a minister, really. And somehow the idea came to me that I wanted to look back at the sabbatical that I took, that is now 4 years ago. And I documented that experience. I made video diaries, very rough, just, put them together. And I documented that 90-day sabbatical that I took 4 years ago. I'm not I'm not here today to talk about that. I'm here today to talk about what the experience was like looking back on it, and the experience of rewatching it in real time and documenting it here. If you want to check it out, I made a separate playlist on this channel. It's called the Summer Transformational Sabbatical, a look back. So I've documented the whole thing there, and you're welcome to check it out. But what's important to this conversation today is what has happened to me as a result of doing that look back. One of the things that was good for me to remember was seeing just how much pain that I had been in prior to my sabbatical. So watching those video diaries reminded me what low feels like. It reminded me what burnout really feels like. Like it took me back to that space. And I've spoken about it here before. Maybe you can relate. I would I was working really, really hard at my job, and it was very intense and very stressful. I had a corporate executive position. I had a lot of responsibility on my plate, and I was living, breathing that job almost 24/7. But when I would get home from work at the end of the day, or when I would finish my work day, because sometimes I worked from home, I had nothing left. I was spent. I was exhausted. And I, I sometimes I went entire weekends never leaving the house, never doing anything, and going right back to work. And what I remember about that time, I was 55 years old, and I was freshly on the edge of dealing with grief from being childless not by choice, and that like resurfaced once I hit menopause. So I was at the tail end of dealing with that, and age was becoming relevant to me. Thinking about what aging was going to be all about. Since I was just coming to terms with the fact that my life did not look traditional, did not have the partner, spouse, kids, home, with a little bit of a future mapped out, because my future would be consisting of my kids and my grandkids' futures, right? And my spouse. And together we'd be building this nest egg and preparing for retirement and all those things. So I was just coming to terms with that fact. And I think I just got hit by a really, really dark cloud as a result of that. I could not envision my life ahead. I had a therapist at the time ask me, you know how sometimes they ask you to think ahead 5 years, 10 years? I absolutely did not want to do that under any circumstances. It it felt nothing but bleak. There was nothing that was intriguing or exciting or interesting to me when I thought about moving into my 60s. Forget about even thinking about 70s. The things that, like, I knew what brought me joy and I knew what could have made me feel better, but I was such at a low place. And yes, there was definitely a depression for sure. I couldn't take the action to do the things that I knew would make me feel better. I had no desire to do them. So it was like a vicious cycle. And I've mentioned in a previous video that I still managed. There was like one tiny, tiny, tiny little voice it in my head. And most likely it was, my highest best self, higher power, God, nature, the universe, whatever. Something was telling me, you can turn this around, and you don't have to take it on all at once. And it doesn't have to be a huge, massive thing. We can take it little, tiny, little beats at a time, which is what I did. I took it in tiny little steps. I knew I needed to take a break. I knew I needed to leave my job, and I needed to not jump right into another job. That's really all I knew at that point. I needed time to just exhale, just rest. I was longing to be taken care of for a little bit. I just was. I'd been uber independent as a Gen X woman. You know what it's like. Decades and decades of uber independence and not leaning on anybody for anything. But I was craving a little bit of that, of wanting to be taken care of just a little bit. So I made plans for my sabbatical, and it took a long time to do that. And I documented exactly how I did it, and I've created resources around that. But now, fast forwarding 4 years later, the experience of looking back on that sabbatical, what it's done for me now has just been very eye-opening. I wasn't expecting it. It was very surprising. So, first of all, what was I surprised about? All right. Well, I was surprised at how full and rich my toolkit was for managing my well-being and my mental health. And I loved watching how I got reconnected back to the things that brought me joy in life. I got reconnected to nature, being outside. I got reconnected to movement, swimming, boating, music, dance, singing, performing arts, connecting with friends on a deeper level, spending quality time with people that I love. All of that happened during my sabbatical. And even ways that I connected with spirit, connected with my spirituality. So what that did for me now was it reminded me of this big toolkit that I have. And it reminded me to don't forget it and to keep adding to it. And when you need something out of your toolkit, to reach for it, even if you don't feel like it in the moment, because it is like nourishment. It's nourishment. So it was a cool reminder to watch that. The reason why it was timely for me is because I've been going through sort of like a steady Eddie season right now emotionally, and feeling okay, feeling content, feeling like, okay, things are all right, but then feeling a little unrest and a little restlessness and a little bit of, okay, what's that? I need to look at that. What is that all about? So I've been, in real time, like right now, that those are the things that have been going on for me. And so revisiting this last journey of mine, it helped me to see how I managed to get such clarity before. And so let me tell you about that. Let me tell you about that clarity. I went into the sabbatical only wanting to heal physically and emotionally, feel more like myself again. And I wanted clarity about what this next season of life was going to look like. And it'd be a bonus if I managed to come up with something that actually excited me. And watching, especially as the sabbatical went on, watching the videos at the end, you could see when the light bulb started to go off, and you could see when the clarity happened, and you could see when the excitement came in. And I actually started vocalizing the life that I wanted to live. I talked about freedom. I talked about continuing this nomadic lifestyle. I talked about being able to continue to spend quality time with loved ones, and that my lifestyle would enable me to be able to like go and spend, weeks at a time or months at a time in different places. Like I wanted that. I also wanted to launch a podcast, which became Blueprint Breakers, a podcast that highlights and showcases women who are living a life outside the traditional norm, women over 45. And I did it. I did it. I'm like 104 episodes in with Blueprint Breakers now. I have had dozens and dozens of experts. I've had solo episodes. We've covered so many critical topics that I spoke about in my sabbatical. We talked about menopause. We talked about love life. We've talked about finances and retirement and friendship and family, like all the things. We've been covering it at Blueprint Breakers. I also mentioned during the sabbatical, I mentioned how I want to serve women who are having a tough time like I had been. And especially those of us who don't have a partner and or kids, because when I was seeking and searching for help and support and role models, there weren't a lot of us. There weren't a lot of women over 45. Now, mind you, I was significantly over 45, but I'm, women over 45 without a partner, without kids, that were talking openly about their lives, that were thriving, that weren't afraid to talk about the ups and downs, because each life path that we're on has ups and downs, joys and sorrows, no matter what the situation is. And there hadn't been a lot of that. And I vocalized that that was part of my mission. I wanted to fill that void and help and put words to the feelings and help my fellow sisters feel seen and heard and understood. I vocalized that in my sabbatical. I've built that. This YouTube channel, Your Gen X Big Sister, I've built that here on YouTube. I've built it on Instagram and Threads. And I have built a community of Gen X women who have come forward to openly share their stories and experiences. And it's led to the monthly coffee chats. Uh, the monthly coffee chats have been freaking amazing. Like, we had one on Super Bowl Sunday. We still had good turnout and amazing conversation. We had one on Mother's Day, which was one of the most memorable ones that I can think of. But what's been magic about it is how quickly we open up to each other and share our common threads, and how quickly, like, we want to have real talk. We want to get real and get right to it. And that's what's been happening amongst this Gen X community, which has led to my membership, the inner circle, and brunch meetups like we did last month. So I I I want to take a moment to, like, just celebrate and maybe pat myself on the back a little bit. I've built what I said I was going to do. And it was perfect timing because I needed to be reminded of that. I needed to be reminded that I've come a really long way in these last 4 years. And I also mentioned at the end of the sabbatical, I talked about how I wanted to figure out, how am I going to generate income for myself without going back and getting a job. Now, mind you, I was recruited a handful of times for really attractive, lucrative positions similar to what I was doing before. And I felt really confident in saying no to those. I don't know why. I don't know why I felt that confident. Well, I do kind of know why I felt that confidence to say no, but I said no and kept at it. I said I wanted to come up with a way to generate income that would still allow me to live this free, flexible lifestyle, that would allow me to live in flow, that would allow me to spend time and energy on my mission, serving women. And I've done that. I It started out like with freelance gigs in different ways, but it's morphed into the Blue Sky Creative, my digital creative agency, where I build online training curriculum, I produce podcasts for businesses, I create digital content for businesses. I'm launching into UGC and VCL work now. But the bottom line is, I have been able to I have found a way to generate income to support myself, to live this free lifestyle that enables me to honor my values, which is community and people and my loved ones, and just having the time and space to get out in nature. So it was really validating for me to see that I've brought these things to fruition, and I've made them happen. Now, what this leads me to think about, and it it filled me up as I've gone through this exercise these last several weeks, and by watching these videos and talking about them, it's been filling me up with this desire for expansion. I am ready. I am ready. I feel like there's a whole new level of where I want to be, and where I want to experience life, and how I want to experience life. And there's things that I want to get even more established with. I'm ready to look ahead to the future. I'm ready to look at what life's going to be like for me 65, 70, 80. And I'm ready to take really strong action to put it into place and to make it strong and stable and build that foundation. And I'm going to do it real time on this channel. I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it. I'm going to make my financial foundation stronger, thicker, wider. That's going to lead to additional freedom and growth. I'm going to take my initial dreams and desire. There's a couple things I mentioned in my sabbatical that I had, like, I want to do more international long-term stays. So I want to move into that realm as well. And I'm just really, really excited. So what does this mean? What does all this mean to you? What this means to you, no matter which of those camps that you're in that I talked about at the beginning of this video. If you're in the camp of you're fine and happy and content, that's great. Just if you want to watch along for entertainment purposes, feel free. I'm sure there'll be some entertaining moments along the way, definitely some highs and lows. If you're in the second camp of searching and learning and trying new things, this is the place for you. And if you are still in the thick of it, I want you to know it can and will get better. And I'm going to continue to think of ways to help you and support you. And I want to listen to you. So I want to hear your stories. Whew. So I have really big stuff coming soon. I'm launching a pre-retirement show here on YouTube that's going to outline the whole experience for those of you that are in the process of designing your pre-retirement now. And as a reminder, pre-retirement is your last 10 to 15 years-ish before you retire. That's what I'm in right now. You're not ready to retire financially, emotionally, physically, but you do know you can't keep doing things the way you've been doing it for decades. So we're designing our pre-retirement. I've spent the last 4 years designing a kick-ass pre-retirement, and I want to help you to do the same. So you can always check out amypalmer.bio. I have resources in there, whether you're ready to take a sabbatical, whether you want to design your pre-retirement, you want to join the membership. We've been having a blast. We have our first in-person meetup coming up in a couple of months. So excited about that. Anyway, leave me a comment. Tell me your stories. Tell me which camp are you in right now? I want to hear from you. Please remember to like and subscribe to this channel. Share it with your friends. My name is Amy Palmer. I am your Gen X Big Sister, signing out.